So what about building a T-shaped Quonset hut? Is it even possible? That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm Earl Parson, your Quonset hut guy. And if you're trying to build a Quonset hut house, I got your back. Let's get into it. So on the screen you can see this is a 3D model that I built in Rhino, which is my 3D modeling software that I use, of a T-shaped Quonset hut. And this subject has come up recently in the Facebook group. So if you're not in our Facebook group, it's called DIY Quonset Dwellers. And if you're into these videos that I've been doing and looking at YouTube for inspiration and help with your Quonset hut build, you will be a great fit for our Facebook group. So if you want to get in the group, it is a closed group because a lot of people are sharing, kind of private stuff about their house and their build, and we made it a closed group to kind of give it a little better privacy. But you could join the closed group. So you can either go to Facebook and search DIY Quonset Dwellers to find the group. But we made an easy link. So if you go to clevermoderns.com/group, that will redirect straight to the Facebook group, and then you can request to join and get in the group. We'd love to have you in the group. A lot of people are finding our group through YouTube, which is awesome. And so shout out, to all of you folks in the group if you're watching this. So if you've been to Disneyland and you've been to Cars Land, you may have seen a T-shaped Quonset hut right there, right? So turns out Sarge's Surplus Hut, which is the gift shop there in Cars Land, it's a really cool building. It's a T-shaped Quonset hut. And so here on the just Google Maps, it's a pretty cool building. Now, you got to remember, this is Disney, all right? So for them to build a T-shaped Quonset hut is like another stage set for them in a way. And they've got armies of engineers and Imagineers and designers and custom craftsmen and women and people that can make all the things, right? So their ability to do this is far beyond those of us mere mortals, right? With this kind of thing. So just a little kind of a caution there, right? So Disney can do it, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily very feasible, for the rest of us. Now, another thing you may have seen are the RAL Kit Home. Now, this is a product out of Australia. The RAL Kit Home, as you can see in these images, this is, again, a Google image search. I love showing Google image searches here on the videos because they're just easy to kind of show you a range of things. So these, appear to be like a Quonset that has these side connections of the arch and the thing, and but here this picture sort of reveals it. Turns out the RAL Kit Home is a wooden frame with a metal skin over the outside. Totally different technology from the Quonset hut, which is a metal panel structural skin that is self-supporting. So as you can sort of see in this image, it's a little small. There's better pictures online, and we'll come back to one. But this is a wooden frame, totally different technology. Okay, so but the idea, it goes back to the ancient Romans. It's called a groin vault. So if you take the shape of a Quonset hut is like a barrel vault. Okay, just a round extruded shape. Okay, that would be a barrel vault. If you intersect two barrel vaults at 90 degrees to each other, like an X, you can get this shape that's called a groin vault. And in ancient construction technology, this is pretty high tech. It was invented by the Romans. It was developed further in the Gothic period, and then revived in the Renaissance, and it's a very efficient way to make a more open type of space, okay? So the question comes down to, can you do this with a Quonset hut? So here's an image at the compound, right, of our own Quonset build that we're building in northern Arizona. And here you can see the, here you can see the way the arches are shaped, right, for our buildings. And so this is, I've measured these carefully and modeled that here in my 3D model. And then I just took it and chopped it at a 45-degree angle, really precisely, and then refit them together. How this would work. Now here are the problems that you're going to get into with this kind of structure. And basically, on the arch here, okay, if we look here where my mouse is, you have this V shape which funnels the water away from the bolts. The bolts are on the top of the ridge, and the water gets funneled down into the valleys, right? And then it runs down the side of the building. So what's going to happen here is this. You're going to have water funneled down through the valley until it meets the 45-degree cut. And then the water from the perpendicular side is also coming down into that 45-degree cut zone, right? But what happens is the way the arches, that high side of the arch where the bolt line is, kind of is going to form like a dam in the corner, and the water will fill in behind that. So, massive waterproofing issue. And one of the things that's so beautiful about the Quonset hut is the way this metal shell has this like complete like structural integrity, and it's a very watertight, when you build it correctly, it's a very watertight shell. And so the minute you go and try and fold it back against itself at a 45, you kind of get these like cascading little ponds that come down the building. So water is going to collect in those all the way along and back up. And so there's like a big waterproofing problem. The second problem, though, is just structurally. So in the example of a Roman, vault, right? In a groin vault, this is all masonry or concrete construction, right? So the forces, the mass of the brick or stone or concrete, can be cut and fitted together, and the forces are pushing in a kind of equal way on each other. If we look at this example, right, the force coming down from this arch and the force coming down from this arch can be kind of transferred and counterbalanced, and then transferred into this pier at the corner, okay? And with masonry or concrete, you can get a good connection. The materials are massive and can go up against each other and push. Okay. Now on the Quonset hut, though, you have to understand the way the structure itself goes together. So if we go back to our image here, this is made of a thin sheet metal panel. Okay, a series of them. All bolted together. Each panel is about 10 feet long, and they overlap and bolt together. So what you're seeing right here in this image these are the areas where the panels overlap. And I've got another image here I can show you of, so here's, when it's under construction for us, this was on our build, you can see where the two panels go together, right? And there's a whole group of bolts. There's like 16 bolts at the overlapping area where one panel overlaps onto the next panel, and they bolt together. And you have to really kind of pull those panels into place. We're using tent stakes to push through the holes and crank them into alignment, and then you put the bolts in and you tighten it all up. But there's like a 9-inch overlap zone with 16 bolts in it that go across there. Okay, that all of the kind of structural load from one panel to the next panel is transferred, at that point, and it becomes like one kind of single unit by the way those bolts and the overlap tie it all together. And then I have one more image, right? So here's a little zone where they're bolted up, and you can just see it with the bolts. Just another view of that for a visual reference for you. Okay, so the way the panels connect is critical, and it's part of the system, okay, where the way the panels go together to form an arch, and the arches go together to form the building, and it's all systematized, and it's all engineered, in this particular way. So what happens then when you look at it back here in the 3D model, okay, so when I hide this, I mean, it's really, you can see this here. It's a very thin shell. And now you're cutting it at an angle, and now there's no way for the panels to overlap. Now, you could come up with a different kind of connection to connect them, but there's a few things to be aware of, because the way this 45-degree cut goes down the side of the building, the profile at the top where it's cut and the profile farther down here, like look how much different the shape is of the edge of the panel, because the panel is sliding down at a different angle, right? Up here it's more perpendicular to the panel. It's really not perpendicular, but it's more perpendicular. And then way down here, it's at much steeper of an angle along there. So, the way each panel connects to the next one is unique. There is no duplication of shape to any of it. The structural connection between these two, how these two panels will go together, I have no idea how you would do it. I'm not saying it couldn't be solved, but I just have no idea how you would do it. You could add a curving beam, underneath. So one possibility would be a curved glulam beam. Now, what is a glulam beam? A glulam is short for glued laminated. Okay, it's a series of pieces of wood, like 2x6s are not uncommon, layered together and glued together and laminated together to form a single member of a beam. So because of the way they're formed out of multiple layers, they can bend them in the factory to a specific shape and curve that. And these are fabulous things, I think. Structurally, I get excited about curved glulams. They're used, they're not all that uncommon. Here's one in a church, and I actually grew up going to a church that was built in the 50s or 60s and had these massive curved glulams that had kind of like multiple shapes built into them, and they were really, it was a really neat thing, and I've always loved them. And there's some really great, just Google curved glulam beam and get this eye candy. There's some great ones. This one I particularly like. It's like you're in a Viking ship or something. So it's really great. Curved glulam, they're also crazy expensive because they're very custom built. A regular straight glulam beam is not that expensive, but a curved glulam beam is extremely expensive. So if you're trying to do a Quonset Hut house because you like the cost effectiveness of the shell, but then you want to try and do all this crazy structural gymnastics, again, I won't say you can't do it, but it's a non-trivial, you almost might want to just build a building that the entire structure is a curved glulam extravaganza and clad it in metal and do a fabulous thing that way. But that's not a Quonset hut, really. That's just, now you're doing this highly customized, sculpture of a building, which is fabulous. Do that. Curved glulam, is kind of an option. You could do a curved steel beam, even more money. But, there's ways. So, okay, so those are some thoughts that I have on, a T-shaped Quonset. And so it's really a departure from the standardization that makes Quonset huts so great in terms of cost effectiveness, in terms of ease of do-it-yourself building, and and I said I would come back to a little bit on the RAL kit home, just because I do think these are extremely cool. I'm not sure they're still making them, and if you look, you'd have to kind of look around online, and it's not clear to me what's going on with the company at the moment. But, and I really don't know much about them anyway, there is this website where some people built one and documented it extensively. So this particular image I'm showing right now, I'll see if I can include a link or put a link in the notes below. But these people built one of these and, like I said, documented it thoroughly, tons of photos, made a great little website. And they did theirs, I think, over 10 years ago now, in the around 2006. Yeah, some of these photos are from around then, so over 10 years ago. But look at this wood, this plywood interior is fantastic. It's just beautiful. I would, with this cross vaulting and openness of this interior, oh my God, it's fantastic. It's it makes a beautiful home. I would love to live in one of these things. And if you're in Australia, you should be building one of these. So I think they're really neat. And but again, totally different technology from the metal panel Quonset structure. And if you ever, if you make it to Disneyland or Disney World, go to Cars Land and look for Sarge's Surplus Hut. It's a cool structure. It's, it's also, it's clad in corrugated metal that is not the same shape as the metal Quonset hut that you would buy and build yourself. So this is clearly an engineered, custom-made structural thing that the Disney folks have put together. And they've used for the interior ceiling the same metal that they put on the outside. So when you go in and look up, it sort of looks like you're just looking at the metal of the roof, and you're actually looking at a ceiling that is concealing the structural system. And I'm not sure how it's supported on the inside, but it could be steel beams that are curved in there, and they just spent the money. It's Disney, the huge budget, Cars Land, but it's a cool little thing. It's a gift shop, and you can go in it, and it's really neat. So I recommend that. All right, so thanks for watching today. I appreciate that, and thank you for your support. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe. If you're not in our Facebook group, go to clevermoderns.com/group and just type in there that you saw one of our YouTube videos and that sent you to the group. I'm pretty much the one checking and adding people. I'm the admin of the group. It's my group. We have almost 1,000 people at this point, so it's awesome. The group is growing. Lots of discussions in there about people's Quonset builds and Q&A and discussions and information being shared and photos. And we have people all over the U.S. And even internationally now in the group. It's been really great. So thanks again for watching. See you next time.